This episode contains triggering conversation that some audiences may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to Everything and the Gym podcast. This is an interview episode. Hello. Welcome back to Everything and the Gym. Today we have an interview episode. Oh, and my name's Shelby, by the way. What is your name?
My name's Dave Thornton,
How old are you?
31.
So, before we hop into the juicy stuff, I need you to do an impersonation for me. So, Alex told me that, do you remember the day that you came into the ride room and opened the door?
Yes.
And then the alarm was going off?
Yes. You want me to do you?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened was Alex was telling me that she had a bad experience with her ride class, and I said, that can't possibly be as bad as my worst experience in the ride class. I was pretty new at the gym. It had been my first couple months, and there's a door in the back that's the fire door. You go out of the fire door by unlocking the top with a key, and then you can go through without the fire alarm going off. I didn't know that. And the door, and usually it's locked, and the unlocking of it allows you to go out the door so the fire alarm doesn't go off accidentally. And what happened was I didn't know Shelby well at all. Maybe talked to her a few times. And I go out of the door because we were looking for somebody. There was nobody at the front desk, and somebody came in. I was like, where are these people? And I walked to the back, and I saw the door was able to be open. I thought it was slightly ajar already, so I was gonna poke my head out. And for context, the ride room is in the very back, and the door to the outside is there. So I entered the ride room while Shelby's doing her ride class, opened the door, and the fire alarm goes off in the middle of her class. The worst thing to possibly happen during a ride class, and it's just deafening noise, and you just hear, that's okay. Listen, things like this happen, and we're all just going to accept this is happening, acknowledge it, and move on. This is life. You have to keep pushing through adversity. And I was just like, dude, this could not have happened with a better person. I was so embarrassed, and it was definitely quite the experience. So that was my Shelby impression. I got a few different ones.
Alex is like, dude, he hit it spot on. And I was like, oh, okay, now I gotta hear it.
Yeah, it was, yeah. It was a little on the spot, but yeah, that's basically it.
No, doesn't take a whole lot. It's just easy.
It's just easy. No, I just think about being as sweet as possible. That's it.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
But yeah.
What do you do?
I am a father and a personal trainer at the moment. And I think that's really about it. I'm just in my hobby is just trying to better myself. That's really it, just self-improvement and just trying to become a better, higher expression of myself. And I thought personal training would help me with that.
So when did you become a personal trainer?
So I was in the mountains of North Carolina, and my wife, who I had met when her family came on a rafting trip, we were talking. She was in Texas and I was in North Carolina, and I needed employment, and a trainer at the gym, JJ, said, hey, they have this personal training manager assistant position. And he was like, from the sounds of his personality, he'd probably be good at it. It's not a fun job. In my opinion, my humble opinion. But so I was like, okay, I'll get the certificate. And I worked on the certificate while I was up there in the mountains, which is very difficult because you don't have cell phone service. So I'd drive to Wi-Fi and stuff. And then I finished it up when I got here and started personal training. But before I did, there's a funny story actually with how I became a personal training. Was when you're going to talk to for client acquisition, there's a aspect of the job called floor polls, where you go onto the floor and talk to somebody and be like, hey, what's going on? What, oh, I noticed you're doing this. Have you done your crunch one kickoff? And I was actually in the bathroom, and I hadn't I had talked to Harrison earlier on about working and stuff like that, but I was just about done with the certificate. I hadn't finished it yet. and I was in the bathroom, and Harrison, or in the locker room, I wasn't in the bathroom part of it. I was in the locker room, and Harrison came in behind me, and he was like, "Hey, we want, I heard you're, doing your certificate and stuff like that. Like, we want you." So like I jokingly tell people that I was a bathroom pole, and I
Huh.
make it sound a lot weirder. I'll be like,
Yeah.
Harrison followed you in the bathroom, like, "I like you and we want you." Like, just like, it wasn't really like that, but it was funny. Yeah. So I got pulled out of the locker room
Huh.
to come work for Crunch
How long have you been a PT?
since last August.
Have you been at Crunch the whole time?
Well, there was like a bit of a delay at the beginning, and then I was only working like a few hours at first, and it wasn't until like I tried APTM that I was able to pull a little bit more clients for myself, and then that's when you and I would start running into each other
Yeah.
more often.
Let's see. I feel like I just started talking to you
Yeah, well,
like
you
a few months
ignored me
ago.
for a long time.
I ignored you? I was
Definitely
about to
not.
say, I'm sorry.
No, no, you are kind of intimidating though.
Really?
Your outfits are too cool.
Oh
Your
my
outfits are too cool,
gosh.
and I can't walk up to people that look cool and just be like, "What's good?" I have no reason to talk to you. What's up? But it was like after I started going to like I did the ride class like once, and then I saw you around and stuff. And actually, most of the time I'd see you up at the front desk, and I would
Mm.
just be like, "Hi."
Hi.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of people.
Oh,
I
I
feel
did a Crunch One kickoff with you. That's
you
when we started
did.
talking.
You
Yeah, because
did.
you had to do a Crunch One kickoff.
And I want to tell you something about that.
Yes.
I have rolled out almost every single day since then.
Really?
And it's nice.
Yeah. So that is nice. That my entire goal with personal training is not even like it's really not like a money thing for me. My thing was that I wanted to give on to people like a gift that I felt that I got through like just grace alone. Like, and I feel like when I I mean, I guess, kind of the point of coming on this podcast to talk about is like, I think that like the experiences and the different, things that I've gained and learned in the gym have made like my life a lot better. And so I wanted to give people this gift where maybe not so much like you're a little bit more advanced, but being able to give something like that, like I want to give people something that they continue on with and they can use like going forward. Because when I first started in the gym, I went to military school when I was younger, and after military school, like I like had got in a bad breakup, which is what got me into the gym, like by myself, and I would just go in there and just kind of do whatever. And the internet wasn't like a huge deal, and we didn't have like a huge workout culture online back then. So like I would like eventually start walking up to people and being like, "Hey, like, can I get a spot?" Or like I noticed you did this, and then I'd get a spot from that person. I would talk to them, and I would just find something. I would find somebody that had something I wanted, and I would find a reason to be close to that person. And I think that in our current gym culture, that has shifted a lot. Where if somebody has something that I want, it's not everybody, but a lot of times the culture will be like automatically find a reason to dislike this person or to like put them down, because it's like I feel like, when I'm behaving that way, just to use I statements, like I feel like I am lacking something, and it feels better to put somebody else down rather than do the work it takes to get to that point. And I said that to say this is that uh like with the foam rolling with you in the gym and with like being a personal trainer, the main objective is to help people to make the gym no longer a chore, but their sanctuary. And like foam rolling is like little, but it's like a microcosm of like a bigger thing where somebody who's like somewhat, you're like upper intermediate in the gym to be able to give you something that you carry on with you and make it make sense for you. That's like the goal. Because like I don't really deserve to have the knowledge I do about the gym. Like I was gifted it by people that had come, and now we stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us.
Do you still view the gym like that?
Yeah, so a lot of times like I'm training with my wife, but when I'm training by myself, like I have two distinct modes. Like one of them, like I pull my hat down to where like I can't see anything except for kind of my feet in front of me. And at that point, like it's more of like a spiritual experience for me, because like a lot of the place where I found like a strong communication with my higher power was in the gym. So like with a lot of things like in my life, like a reoccurring motif is like I don't really have this, but there's a power greater than myself out there. And that I can communicate with that directly in the gym. And then the second way is like a more social way. And yeah, like it's a lot of times too, like you take your role as that position. So like as you move up to like more advanced, like you s- you I like put myself in positions to be that person for somebody else. Like, if I see somebody squatting and they're like really grinding it out, I'll be like giving them motivation, like, come on, yep, like right there. Or just like little comments like that. And then I'll find like 15 minutes later after they're done, they'll walk up to me and they'll be like, hey, thank you for that, and be off. And then that's like, like I feel like what was done for me, now I'm in that role. And then also try to like you said, like I will like pay homage to the people that came before me. Like I'll watch like older people in the gym and stuff, and like those are really like a lot of times my heroes in the gym now is like when you see a guy that's like 65 and he's still cranking it, like I'm watching how he moves, because I'm like, feel like I'm smart because I'm strong, and I have these gifts right now, but like eventually like fragility will become my life. And so I look forward to these people and go, what are they doing, like how are they doing it, um to like do kind of like I used to back in the day, where it'd be simple, like, hey, can you teach me this? Like now, like a lot of that comes from like workout videos. So now it's more so like the community, and then the people I really watch is like the a lot older people that you can tell by their gear and different like movements that they do and the way they do things, like how they're doing it. Because like at this point, longevity is like a big goal of mine.
Mhm. So, how long ago was it when you started in a gym?
So I started at 18 going to gyms for the first time. And I was not very financially sound. So I had been thrown out of like every gym in the entire town by the time I left, because like I would just like, like lose my job or just not have the money and not be able to pay. So like it was, from 18, I was jumping from gym to gym. And there was periods where I wouldn't work out for, several months, a year. Never super duper consistent, but not sure. So that's like 12, 13 years. Not that long.
So, what is something you have learned about yourself from getting into fitness?
My ego is not my amigo. That's like the number one thing that I've learned, is my ego is not my friend, and that it's a lot easier to be humble than to get humbled.
Mhm.
That's the most important thing, I think. I've learned a lot of things, like, you usually quit at 40%. There's a power greater than myself that, I can feel around me, I can tap in. But the most important thing is that everything that I've fought against my entire life is going to one day become my life. So it's not so much about what I can do in the gym, what weight I'm lifting, or what my aesthetic is. It's about touching people's lives,
Mhm.
because that's going to be the thing that lasts after the gym is over. That is going to be the thing that meant something.
Mhm. So, does the gym help you with mental battles?
Yeah. So I'm a heroin addict, fentanyl abuser. I grew up to drug addict, alcoholic parents, and they got sober when I was about 3 years old, and then they were sober from the time I was 3 to about 15. My dad got in a car accident and was prescribed pills, and he ended up getting in touch with a doctor that would kind of prescribe you whatever you wanted. And at this time, he was the president of the Alcoholics Anonymous clubhouse in my town. And from there, life started kind of going off the rails. And so you could say I came by it honestly. But heavy drinking and eventually drug addiction, which would turn into, intravenous heroin use, fentanyl, cocaine, crack, methamphetamines, like all of those things were, I lived to use and use to live. And there was, a lot of periods where I was using fitness at the same time, but it would usually be like I try to get clean and start getting fit again and then fall off. And like, it may not seem like it now, but like I was literally like shooting up out of a puddle. Like I have like got the water from a puddle because I could not afford $1 bottle of water to use clean water to shoot up. And I know that's like kind of like heavy, but like I'm saying that to say this is that um like a lot of people say like working out is life and stuff like that, but it's only through like my higher power, different like programs for like substance abuse and different things like that. And fitness has been, truly like a sanctuary for me. And it's like something I didn't realize at first, but like I just came into this world with just like this sucking chest wound of like just a spiritual vacuum like in my and when I do the things that I do inside of the gym, um and try to become like a higher better expression of myself and something where I can leave it all out on the field, it it helps to alleviate that. Now like, there's other things involved too, like I'm very active in my spiritual life, and like I have people that I talk to and lean into, and I spent like a really long time in Alcoholics Anonymous and different stuff like that. What I don't attend out here, I go to church now and do like a life group and stuff. But for me, I feel like I naturally have like a spring inside my body, and just the normal stressors of life that somehow other people intuitively know how to handle. It just feels like a spring is just tightening inside of me, and it just ratchets down and ratchets down and ratchets down day after day after day. And if I don't do something about it, then eventually I just explode and self-sabotage in a way that is, that usually expresses itself. Like, the drugs and the alcohol is really just a symptom of a problem that I had. And the problem was how I think. Like, and the gym allows me to get outside of myself and communicate with my higher power, because I have I have a mental obsession. And, like I said, it feels like a spring, but I just have this mental obsession with I have to feel different. Like, I don't like just feel okay if I'm not doing the next right thing, or like the thing that's going like it's hard. It's a hard thing to describe. Like it's a hard thing to like put in a box and like put words on. But like, and I have this physical allergy to drugs where like I don't know what happens to other people when they do heroin, but whenever I do heroin, it takes all of my bad feelings and turns them into good feelings. Now the gym doesn't necessarily do that, but it's it's like in conjunction with a lot of other things. So like I had to like replace that feeling in my heart with like a higher power of my own understanding that I call God, you know, some doing the next right thing, spreading like positivity, awareness, and just doing things that like lead me forward. I can't just like be still. Like for me to be still is like to be stagnant. Like I don't know if everybody has this, but like I just have like I don't know, like my mind is like a sports car or something like that. Like I have to run it, and like drugs like fixed, like not fixed, but it was like a solution to my problems. And like the gym is not like a end all be all to that, but like it's definitely like a place of like where I can express myself and like, you know, get like kind of loosen that spring up that's inside of me a little bit.
How long did it take you to get sober?
Like 15, 14 years. But like the opioids doing them heavily was like eight, 8 or 9, and then I think like heroin itself like probably like 6.
What were some of the things that you had to do to get sober?
It was a very simple process. I just had to change everything. Yeah. I had to give up everything I love because like to start there, like everybody in my life that like I really thought that I loved and that loved me, I had to cut them all loose. I had to basically give up every possession that I had, which I say give up, but I like when you're addicted, you don't really lose the things that you have. You gladly give them away. Gladly, like happily and with open arms, like, please, here, take this, like pawn shop, whatever this is, please take it. Like, I'm happy. Like, you get, a 16th of the money you paid for it, and you're happy. You're so happy. And I went to two out of state 45-day rehabs. I've went to probably 10 detoxes. I've probably went to 3,000 AA meetings. I choose to go to AA because the NA meetings just didn't have the same like spirituality, the same vibe, like, and the I don't know, the cohesion. The Step Up Club, the Alcoholics Anonymous place I went to was the same one I went to when I was a kid. When my parents were sober, it was the same one. So I ended up walking into the same building, as a man that I grew up in as a child. I moved, which, the thing about moving is, and I want to clear this up, is you can't shake your shadow. You will take you with you everywhere you go. And that is really hard for people to understand because you think geographical location change, new place, new me. Like, you take the same man and you put him in a new car, he's still going to have the same experience. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you think that you can get away from yourself, you're wrong. You're wrong. Like, but that was one part of it, because it got me out of a situation where I could get away from some influences that I had that were very close to me, in the place that I were. What those people are doing, most of them are doing a lot better, but most of my friends are dead. Like, my friends, but like most of the people that I grew up with and like hung out with and stuff, like died at like a young age, and the ones that survived, like I had to cut them all loose, everybody. I had to develop a spirituality that had work. Like, so like we say, like, faith without works is dead. So it wasn't just that I had faith, like I had to do something about it every day, which included like service work and like different things like that, like a program of action. I had to become honest with myself. Like, I had to like go through the past and find out why it was that this was such a relief to me, like why drugs and alcohol became a symptom rather than my problem, because they weren't my problem at all. They were my solution, truly, and like to bring it back, like that's kind of the gym now, is it's not necessarily the solution, but it helps. It definitely helps. Like, a lot of people, like, it's a reoccurring motif I hear with people, like, I work out like this because if not, I would jump off a bridge. Like the interesting thing about being a drug addict is like you do jump off a bridge. Like, it's, a little slower than that. But like you are forced to get your ducks in a row. Otherwise, you'll just fall back into the same thing that you've known and loved your whole life. So back to like changing everything. Like, you have to, you know, get yourself out of this pattern because you just become a creature of habit. It's like a ritual of like feeling better. And in a kind of roundabout way, the gym is kind of a similar thing. It's like, rather than it like being a chore, it becomes like a ritual to feeling better. And like a lot of times I'll find myself like, if things pop up and like I'm sick and I'm out for a little while and I'm just like kind of don't feel like I'm doing right by myself, I feel it immediately. Right. And that's the same kind of feeling what it feels like to be a drug addict. It's just like on a faster basis. So even if like I've gotten sober and didn't have, something, like I didn't have like a faith that worked, like I didn't have, I wasn't doing the next right thing, like that spring just starts tightening and tightening and tightening, and then you just pop off. And I'm grateful really to have the gift of drug addiction, because everybody battles with what I battle with. I just have a name for mine. Other people have to figure it out. For me, very clear. Now it kind of sucks because like the labels that come with it and the scars that you wear before you can like accept who you are. Like I don't say like I used to be a drug addict, like I didn't used to be. I definitely am, and I will be until the day I die, and I can prove it to you because I cannot handle, you know, doing that. And I also can't handle life on life's terms. And But like I said, I have a sneaking suspicion not many people can. Like maybe like they found a good system that works and they don't even realize they're working their little program and they're doing their thing. But I think that everybody comes into this world with a God-sized hole in their heart, truly, and you will find something to fill it. But like I said, I'm grateful because like, having drug addiction is like pretty simple. Like, oh, you battle this demon and like that's what you will, that's your life's work.
Are your thoughts now more positive than they used to be? And is that something are y- are you still trying to rewire like the negative with the positive?
I think that they're a lot more positive now. And the reason being is because I am more aware of my ego, and being in recovery really helped with that, because I noticed in the beginning when I was in the gym, it was just this crazy ego trip where like I couldn't walk by a reflective surface without looking at myself. And I wasn't like unbelievably gifted. Like I have big dreams and shit genes. Like it's okay. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. Trust me. And like, but like I was just like so full of myself. And then I would look at other people, and if somebody had something that I desired, that I would find a reason in my mind to pick them apart, which I found was very negative. And I think was just like a systemic result of how I felt inside. Because I can remember being a little kid, like the first time I had a suicidal thought, like I'm gonna really do it, was like I had to be like, I know for sure I was under 8. I think I was under 6. Like, so it was like I can remember looking at the door handle of the car, like I'm gonna do it. Like, and it's just like I don't know that like everybody has it like that. But like, but I know that I definitely did. Like I never felt like I belonged anywhere I went. I always felt apart from rather than a part of. So now that I am like tapped into this thing that I feel like is greater than myself, when I'm in the what I call like the groove a lot more often, to where like, I don't really have enemies like I used to. I don't have anybody that I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore. And a lot of times, like when I see people that are behaving in a way that I don't agree with, a lot of times I can give them grace. Not all the time. Like I still have my moments, but I have this thing to fall back on, which is a power greater than myself. And like the reason I say it like that is because like I want this to be more inclusive to the person out there that like doesn't know what their thing is yet. Like I could say what my thing is, but I don't really feel like that does you any good.
Mhm.
I mean, it does, but I think that the reason why my experience is like the way that it is so that I can reach more people. Because like a lot of people get turned off if like you start like saying this or that or this or that, like about like making it like a certain sector branch. Like I have my own, but I truly believe that like whatever it is out there that's greater than ourselves, if you can answer these two questions, how did you treat your people and did you enjoy the gift I gave you? If you can truly answer that, like if you can stand before whatever the power of the universe is, and it say to you, how did you enjoy the gift I gave you and how did you treat your people? I think that you'll be all right. Maybe I'm an inclusivist, I don't know, but like, that's something my mom always told me from a young age. Like I've always known that, like how to answer that question. And I feel like, if you like can find a way to keep that in your heart, then your thoughts, when you have that in your heart, it's very hard to be negative because you're grateful. You can't be grateful and have negative thoughts at the same time. um so like I live my life by trying to like answer that question right there. How did you enjoy the gift I gave you and how did you treat your people? And the most important thing is when you find something that you love, you have got to hold on to it. That's all there is to it. Like, bottom line. That might be a little bit of a ramble, but I wanted to make it a point to say that last one that I just said.
Do you think people have to go through something hard to get to that mindset?
I think that yes, and the reason being is because like the way relativity works is that even if it's not quote unquote something that would be hard to you, everybody deals with hard things. And like, the old cliche, like you can't make a diamond without pressure. Like everybody has pressures. If they don't have it in the way that you had it, they have it in a different way. That's why I say drug addiction's a gift, you know? But truly, if you look at any physique, whether they use PEDs or whether or whatever they do, whatever financial advantage, no truly great physique can be born with anything but suffering. Now, I don't know if necessarily they have to suffer like before to make them want that, but like what I mean is like lifting weights hurts. You know, waking up and doing Groundhog Day and eating things that aren't fun and getting up and showing up even when you don't feel great, or like even when you mentally are down on yourself or you're having a tough time, like that is suffering. And the act of going there is suffering, and you're going to like you're it yes, I definitely think that all of that's cultivated through suffering. And like I don't necessarily, it's because it's hard for me to say because it's like I don't really know people like what they're going through, but I just know that everybody out there is suffering in one way or another. Like I truly will like stand on that with 2 feet, is I think everybody has like a God-sized hole in them, whether they know it or not. And you're suffering. Like if you're apart from your higher power, i.e. alive, you're suffering. You're suffering. Like I've never met anybody that's like everything has been so good. So good. Like and yeah, and I think that also like the mental fortitude to like truly need, like when they get to a certain point, like unless they're like just like purely addicted to the gym, which is like maybe a form of suffering, haven't really thought that through, but um like to have the desire, like the courage to grow and the desire to get off the ground and stop eating dirt, you have suffered substantially. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I feel like, ah,
I have an interesting story for you guys if you guys
yes.
want to hear one. So I guess this is like one way that the gym kind of saved my life, but I was working out at the time, and I won't go into it too much what led up to it, but I was driving my car on St. Patrick's Day, and I ended up going up a curb and wrapping the car up around a telephone pole at about 50 miles an hour ish. And I had a 2.5 inch piece of metal shoot 3 inches into my neck right here, and it stopped 1 centimeter from my carotid artery, which would have killed me like almost instantly. And and it's just it's interesting because like number one, like I guess like if I hadn't been like weightlifting at the time, maybe my neck wouldn't have been the perfect thickness to stop it. But the main part is that like it was almost like a direct kind of guardian angel moment, like, and I want and I wanted to tell it because like it was not enough. That was not enough for me to get my life on track. Like I'd love to tell you guys like that happened to me, and like I saw this like direct answer from God, and was like literally saved my life by like 1 centimeter. Um and like I wanted to like tell that story because it is very, it's not just because you have like a guardian angel or like God looks out for you, it will not make the elevator stop going down. You have to choose to get off the elevator, you know? So like the reason why I told that story is because if you're looking for your direct sign from your higher power or whatever to like turn things around, I can tell you now, like at least from my experience, that I've got like some of the most direct signs from my higher power ever, that like I'm like protecting you, like I'm looking out from you, but like this is not the way. I can tell you absolutely that you have to choose to make a change for yourself, and you have to choose when you've had enough, because the elevator will keep going down. And but I want to tell that because that was like an interesting thing that happened to me where I could like directly kind of see, like have like this guardian angel moment.
But did you see that as a guardian angel moment in like when you were recovering from all of that? Did you see it as that kind of moment, or was it now that you've like grown and
Oh, I saw it big time because well, what happened was like, I learned a couple things that day. I learned number one, if you're dying, nobody's gonna tell you that you're dying. Because I was like, I like popped out of the car, And people were like, sit down, sit down. I was like, I'm not sitting down. Like, and then apparently like it was like, and like blood. I'm not trying to be like too graphic, but
Yep.
like they were like, look at yourself. And I looked and there was like already a pool of blood like all over like my pants and everything. Like I was like, am I bleeding out? And they were like, no. And I was like, am I gonna be all right? And they're like, yeah. And but they were like, you need to sit down. I was like, hold on a second. I called my dad. I was like, Dad, you're gonna have to give me a ride to the hospital. They're talking about calling an ambulance and stuff like that. Like, dude, like that's gonna be so expensive. You need to. And then like right there, immediately started feeling sleepy death. Like I was like, oh my God, this is it. You do get like it was like this like warm kind of like cozy feeling. And I was like, I'm really tired and cold. This is so weird. And I was like looking at people like, am I gonna make it? And they were like, absolutely, which I guess they were right, but like they were not like, you're hit bad, because I couldn't see it. And then I went into the hospital. I remember being wheeled into the hospital and looking at the pictures on the wall, and I could tell by the wall art that I was not in Trident, or that I was basically I didn't make it downtown. Like I was in like West Ashley or something, or wherever I was. It was like not the good hospital. I was like, oh my God, I'm in Trident, or wherever it was.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And graphic stuff. But anyways, but I remember like before they put me under, like I was laying there on the table and the doctor was like, and I had no idea I had a piece of metal in my neck. I knew something sucked whenever they put the halo on me. That hurt really bad. But I didn't know I had a piece of metal in my neck. I didn't know what I looked like at all. Nobody shows you a mirror when you're like in intensive care. But like the doctor was like, okay, so you have a small piece of metal in your neck. Left, came back. I'm like, small piece of metal, that's interesting. But he was like, small piece of metal in your neck. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I remember like before he put me under, I was like, wait, so where is this piece of metal in my neck? Like when you take it out, like it's not gonna like hit anything on the way out or whatever that would like. And he was like, that's the plan. Hey, guess what you don't want to ever hear before you go under? That's the plan. What? Like that's the plan? Like that dude, he came out looking so nervous, and he had it in this little jar, and it was like a T shape like that. And he was like, there's absolutely no reason on this planet Earth why you should be alive. I've never seen anybody make it through anything like this. Like you absolutely should be dead. He probably shit himself whenever he saw it was like 1 centimeter away, and you can't shake because you'll for sure kill
Yeah.
this guy. But like I've done like, been in the hospital and different stuff. Like always be like, yeah, like what we're gonna do is this and this, and it's gonna be fine. Like there might be like they'll give you percentages and stuff. He was just like, that's the plan. And then put me under, and I came back and he was like, dude, that was crazy. I'm like, what? But I was out of the hospital in a few days and back out, and everything was fine.
What was recovery like for that? Did you have any like strict recovery?
Heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of heroin. So that I felt better. No, it wasn't really strict recovery. Like when I was in the hospital, I couldn't lift my head up, and then I figured out in the hospital if I like grabbed myself by the hair, I could like pick my head up and talk to people, because just laying there like this sucked. You're just like looking at people, and they're looking at you, and you're just like,
Did you have long hair?
Not very long. It was actually I think it was pretty short at the time, but I could just give myself a little and pick myself up. And then I think I got out of the hospital in like 3 days. It was crazy. They were like begging me to stay. I was like, I can't. I gotta go do some heroin. Like it sucked. I can joke about it now, but it was like, dude, at the time it was like, man, like this is like, I don't know, but you don't really have a choice. Like when you start serving a master, you're always going to be serving a master. That's why I talk about the higher power and stuff. You will always serve a master. And you need to be very careful about what you choose to make your master, because if your master is drugs and alcohol, when master says jump, you say how high. When master says sell your TV, you sell your TV. When master says you can't hang out with your family right now, you have to go, you will go. But I consider it a gift, because some people's master is depression. Some people's master is self-doubt, self-pity. Some people's master is, everybody has a master. You know what I mean? And my battle was easy, because it was not easy. It was really hard, but it was defined for me, at least, where I feel like a lot of people, they're struggling in silence, like the old-fashioned way, like not really truly understanding like what is this feeling? Why do I feel like everybody else intuitively knows how to handle life and I don't? But yeah, I had to tell that story because, I have this giant hole in my neck, and it was very interesting. And if I could, I would like to tell one more about like a little bit
Yes,
happier.
please.
So I was in my car, a little happy. I was in my car and I was sobbing. I was at like my mental, I call it the all-time low. I was at my mental all-time low. And I remember I was at the street light sobbing, and I prayed. I said, God, please, if you're out there, just please show me a sign. Like I have nothing. Like I have nothing. I have less than nothing. Like I literally can't do this anymore. And I had never in my life ever seen anybody standing on the corner. Like in Somerville, we didn't have any homeless people like at this time, and like it wasn't a particularly nice town or anything, but there was no people ever that stood on this corner, these two gas stations. And I remember looking up, like sobbing so hard I couldn't even tell if the right light was red or green. And I wiped my tears. And while I'm sitting there, I see somebody holding a sign, and it says like honk if you agree with traditional marriage. And the light turns green, I'm sobbing, and I turn my head and look, and the next person holding the sign turns towards me, and it says honk if God is real. So I literally got an actual sign from God that God was real. Like when I asked for a sign, I was like, huh, that's pretty undeniable. But I don't know, that was just my experience. But I wanted to mention that because because I was literally at my all-time low and got an actual sign. So for like all those people out there that's like, oh, like, if my higher power really cares about me, why don't they give me a sign? Like, you might have to look. Because I wouldn't have looked, like if I wouldn't have looked over that way, I would have totally missed the sign. I would have just kept cruising about my way, and who knows where I would have ended up.
Was that a pivotal moment in your life?
It was definitely was a pivotal moment. There was a few more years of suffering after that, but like that, again, back to the master thing, like depending on what master you choose, you can be done with it, but it's not done with you. So there's certain things that, you want to give up, and they won't give you up, but you just keep trying at it, and things do get better. And if you're out there suffering, this too shall pass. Yeah. Big proponent of that. Yeah.
What is something that you have done that you were proud of?
My proudest moment is surviving long enough for my mother to be proud of me again. And she always loved me, but like when you get that, like when you have really been through it, and hearing my mom say, I'm so proud of you, that was it for sure. Like being able to survive long enough to where my parents didn't have to bury their kid, and then eventually work my way up and claw my way out of the trenches to like find this other side where mother was proud again and she didn't have to worry about me anymore. That's it.
Do you still have a relationship with your mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They're struggling a little bit in South Carolina, but things are getting better rapidly for them. And yeah, I talk to her on a weekly basis, and I'm going to go see her in a week, spend a week out there, which I'm really, really happy about. And, moving over there onto that coast, South Carolina, hopefully in a couple months, and hopefully be able to reveal her another grandchild, and yeah, but that's definitely my proudest moment, is being able to survive long enough for your mom to be proud of you.
Yeah, I bet she feels pretty good about that too.
Yeah, I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it because a lot, like my sponsor would tell me, he's like, I've seen like a lot of people with the disease that you have, and you have a condition that's referred to as hopeless. So like I'm like, it's really garden variety. There's like a lot of hopeless people, but he's like, without intervention, you will absolutely die of this. And you will not die soon like you want to. You're one of those people that survives a long time, long after you wished you were dead, and then longer, and then eventually it'll take you quietly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does everything you've been through, do you think that helps you as a father?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think that there's not really any adversity that I haven't, like I can look at and be like, man, it would really suck for that to happen, I mean, obviously there's things you can look at, but I think that with my skill set allows me to not let good suffering go wasted. That's important, because everybody is like always suffering, But a lot of people, I don't know how much people, but I feel like a lot of people overlook that suffering is a gift and a strength, and that you were chosen for that suffering, and that you should not let it go wasted. Otherwise, it was like all for naught.
Hmm. So, talking about struggles, what is your biggest struggle right now?
I think my biggest struggle is doubt. I'm not in a very lucrative career right now, and I have a cross country move, a child on the way. I have like legal issues with my first child, that I'm trying to have resolved. And so a lot of times I will not think that I can do it, and I don't got this, which is absolutely true. I don't got this. Just on my power alone. So my biggest struggle is like handing that over to my higher power, because without that love and guidance, I'm absolutely helpless. But there's like times when, like, just being a human being, I'm like, oh, if everybody was just like a puppet and I was like the master of the play, and everybody on stage just did what I wanted them to do, everything would be all right. But time and time again has shown that my plans get me killed. Like, my plans are bad, and that a lot of the adversity and things that don't go my way are actually going my way. But it's just a plan that's bigger than it's a plan that's bigger than me, and a power that's greater than me. So being able to like be like, oh, like I remember this, like I'm feeling this way, like I need to give this away. And that's what the gym is. You're giving it away. You're leaving it all out there. And like anytime you like in the gym, when you or life, like you leave it all in the field, you give everything you have, there's satisfaction in that. Where there's not ever eventually you're going to hit a point where there's no longer satisfaction in the way that you look. There's no longer satisfaction in the fact that you are going to the gym consistently. The satisfaction is going to be found in, because body dysmorphia will hit you very quickly. I'm sure you're probably at the phase where you're starting to get it.
I've had it.
You've had it? How long have you been fit?
I started working out 21, so I worked out at home for a year,
Mhm.
and then at the end of that year, Crunch opened, and I started in the gym. So over
Yeah,
2 years,
it's time.
going on
Yeah, it's
3. Yeah,
time. The bigorexia has set in.
yeah. It's a weird phase to be in because everybody's like, "You look so good," and I'm like, "Oh, this could be better." But it's the
I
roller
love it.
coaster of the gym. The gym in itself is a roller coaster all on its own.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. That's good. That's good.
yeah, yeah.
I always say that, no matter like what it is. I'll be like, "That's good." Someone will be like, "Dude, I just wrecked my car," and I'm like, "Good. Got an opportunity to get a new car. That's good. Good. You got an opportunity to make better choices. Outstanding." Because I try to like manipulate myself into like saying good when bad things happen. It's like from some wiser people than myself that I've listened to. But like I tried it, like I got this, like I never had nothing, and I got this new phone. And I was so happy to have a new phone. Didn't have it in a case yet, and dropped it first day or second day and broke the screen. And I just picked it up and I was like, yes, good, good. First brand new phone, just dropped it. Yes. And it actually kind of worked. And sometimes that's just what it takes, you
Yeah.
know?
It's teaching your brain how to see the good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also a fun game because even if you like don't really believe it, it's kind of funny to do that anyways. Like I find myself joking with my own self a lot because I'm stuck in here with me.
Yeah.
Like, so that's like kind of my thing. Like maybe from this podcast, I seem like a very serious guy, but like this is probably a lot of this stuff is news to people because like 9 times out of 10, when you see me, I'm having the most fun out of everybody.
Yeah.
I I don't know. Like I really feel like it's just like my God-given gift and talent to like make people smile and make them laugh and just like give them 1 second out of the day where they're not thinking about anything else besides like having fun.
Well, you said something at the gym the other day, and you were doing something kind of fun. You said that you have to make your workouts fun, or it's harder for you
Yeah.
to be
Oh, I
there.
remember what
When
we're
you
talking
were
about.
throwing,
Yeah, we got I had like a vision the night before. I was like, dude, this would be so much fun. I and I had one of my custies didn't was like, I'm feeling like a little like bored in the gym. And so we went through our workout like normal. And of course, if you tell me you get bored in the gym, you pushing the sled. But we'll see how bored you are at the end of this. But I smoked her down pretty good, and I put a bunch of tires out, like weighted tires out into the middle of the gym floor, and then we took medicine balls and practiced different ways of like throwing them as hard as you could and like making the medicine ball land in the center of the ring, which I like shouted you out immediately because I was like, Shelby, I hope you're taking notes because this is totally your thing. Like your goal is like to like do whatever you want and have fun. It was super fun. I was like, if more people did this, if we had this instead of cornhole, like everybody would be shredded.
Yeah. Were you sore after that?
I mean, yeah, it was. I do a lot of power stuff, but like, yeah, it was definitely like a full body, fun power workout. If your gym out there has tires and they got medicine balls, start throwing.
What does a typical workout for you nowadays? What does that look like?
So I'm running like actually a more female oriented bro split, push pull legs, but I do legs twice a week because I work out with my wife. So um, I kind of, it's kind of blood and guts. I call it like it's a lot of compound movements. Um, and then I also have like a lot of creative stuff that I do. Like I've been doing it long enough where I can get creative with it. Typically it'll be like a glute focused leg, then chest and tricep, back and bicep, and then quad focused leg. And then I'll throw in about every and then shoulders, like I'll do a day for shoulders. I don't work a lot of arms anymore. Like I'll work like a couple tricep movements at the end, but my arms are kind of like genetically just nice, so I don't do a lot of that. And
Must be nice.
right. um, but I a lot of time. I mean, right now, I don't know. I dabble with things like sometimes if it's a quad focused leg day, instead of squatting first, I'll do like leg extensions first to get like a pre-exhaust going. And a lot of stuff I do like past failure or to failure just for the spiritual experience. Um, Power movements and stuff, like stuff that there's not like a ton of like aesthetic glory in your body, but I need to like be able to really like use my muscle. Because like, for instance, like in the summer, like when you're like throwing rafts onto a stack, you have to like hang clean the raft up and then put it over your head and then throw it onto a stack of rafts. And I've never I've never lived a lifestyle where I could just be big for no reason. I don't even really like the way that is. Like I like, different things like being able to like do the monkey bars if I want to. That's like kind of like you feel that, or like different stuff like that. But I basically, my workouts look like push pull legs, and then like I'll do like shoulders and on like every like fifth day or something like that. But they really look like they really look like workouts that are still like what I call like blood and guts, or like old school, like a lot of like plates and like doing, hard movements. But I work out with my wife like probably 4 days of the week. Like I might sneak in a workout without her, but we're really like a team. And she's pregnant right now, so we do like a lot of like pelvic floor stuff, and then I have to like put my hand on her tummy to feel for like coning. Like I've learned a lot about how to work out with like for a pregnant woman, because like when they start getting like diastasis, which is like where their abs spread apart, when they have tremendous intra-abdominal pressure from certain positions, it'll make their core go out like in a cone. And so yeah, a lot of my workouts look like just me like having a ton of fun with my wife in the gym. And I don't see it. I don't see it a lot. A lot of people don't have the privilege to be able to work out with their partner like every single time. And a lot of times, even when they do go with their partner, they split. But I've meticulously worked at being able to make incredible gains where I'm not. The main thing that I like to do this is to not be a slave to the weights. That's my current thing. And what I call being a slave to the weights is when you're going in there and you're working your tail off and you're not making gains and you're not seeing results. That's what I call being a slave to the weights. And that comes from a lot of different things. But you know, I've been a lot of my workouts are like I do like a lot of like knee work to like bulletproof my knees, and like my elbows and shoulders and stuff. Like I spend a lot of time doing things that, you know, like for instance, my squat now is like I can like pause with my bottom to grass and just chill there with like 225 and then come up, because I've been able to in this season kind of let go of like worrying about what the weights look like or what I look like doing them, and just be able to like come into my own of being like, you know, it's really not important. It's more about it's not as important about what I look like doing it, you know, which sounds so easy in theory, but you go in there and try to push lightweight, especially when you feel like, oh, like I'm smart and I'm strong, like I need to like be impressive. It's a difficult thing, but you know, in this season, it's been me and the wife. You know, she's growing. She's 15 weeks pregnant, which I don't think I mentioned it on the podcast, but I got married in November. And actually, I do have to tell the story about how we met. So, because I said earlier off camera, my life is like a movie. So, I went up to North Carolina with a suitcase. I went up in my car, and which is not an adventure mobile; it is a Camaro. And I got an Airbnb for a week, and I like it was like I had no idea what I was gonna do. I thought it would be really cool to be a raft guide, and there was like a little river called the Tuckasegee, and Tuckasegee is Cherokee for slow meandering turtle. And I thought, oh, this is rafting. I've never seen whitewater rafting before. Didn't know that was Baby River, and those were in fact not really like a raft guide river. Like you could tube it in an inner tube, you know, basically. Not really. I mean, you would use like a single person inflatable kayak and stuff, but I did the river and that, and I talked to the guy like, hey, can I, you know, be a raft guide here when I was in the Airbnb for a week? And he was like, no, like, you know, we've got like kind of college kids and stuff, and like there's not really any positions opening. So right there, I was like, the dreams for being a raft guide is starched. So I found this Airbnb that I would rent for a month. And, you know, I was just trying to find my way in the world. I didn't know anybody. I would get lost for hours because like I would lose service and I wouldn't know the parts in North Carolina where to go to get service. So it was just me just driving in a mountain with the windows down, just like I'm lost as all get out. And I was very scared for like a long time, but eventually like I would find myself just like you could just follow a river by the mountain and eventually it'll lead you somewhere. And it was really, really nice. And I started doing this thing where every time I would see a church, I would pull over my car and I would get on my knees and pray on the steps of the church. So like what happened eventually was I hit this wall. I had this membership at this gym, and I very seldom in my life if I ever walked like out of the gym, like felt so bad I just walked out, and I was so depressed. I felt like driving my car into a wall, and I'm not kidding you. That was my exact thought: is I'm going to drive my car into a wall. I am going to give up. I'm going to go back to South Carolina. And my buddy had visited, and he showed me this mountain. It was the highest peak in the area. It was called Water Rock Knob, and I had driven up there, and you can see the mountain on one side, you can see the mountain on the other, because it's the peak. But you drive up to the peak, and then I would see this path, and you'd see people walking up, and you'd see them coming down, but they disappear into the foliage. It's like a tree mountain. And I remember hearing that same voice in the day that had me look at the sign, you know, the same, which I didn't mention earlier. There was a voice that, like, not in English came about me. So whenever I was like feeling sleepy death, when I was bleeding out, I remember closing my eyes and you just kind of drift away. And I remember opening them, coming back. I don't know how much time had passed and I drift. And I remember this one time I did it and I heard this voice in my head that it was not in English, but it was like, you can go, but if you stay, it's going to be a fight. And I remember going, pop my eyes open one more time, and the cop's like, stay with me, what's your name? Like all this stuff. And then I was like, I'm going to close my eyes one more time, and then I'm going to open them, and I'm not going to close them again. I remember I just closed them one more time and popped open. Well, the same voice told me to go to the mountain, which I might be schizophrenic, who knows, right? But the voice told me to go to the mountain and to stop at every outlook, and there's like 16 mountain outlooks on the way up to the peak, and to get on my knees and pray at every single one. And so I went to the mountain, And I was praying at every single one. And I remember I by about like 13 or 14, you're like, I don't really want to do it anymore. And there was this last one, this last knob right before you got to the top. And I pulled my car over and I thought, I've done this so many times, I'm not going to get out of my car. I'll just say it from my car. And I had this deep, deep feeling inside of myself, like, don't half-step this, get out of your car and go do it. So I just got out of my car real quick. God, please help. Got in my car, went back to the top. Now, I didn't know that this timing would matter at the time. I didn't know that this would change the entire course of my life and that I would not be sitting here talking to you today if I didn't do what I was told to do, exactly how I was supposed to do it, right? So I got out and did that. Now, I got to the top. I sat in the parking lot. I sat by the benches. I looked over both sides of the mountain. And the voice came back to me and it said, stop driving up the mountain and climb it. So I was literally just had come out of the gym depressed. I'm wearing Adidas sweats and brand new white Adidas high tops. And I saw people walking up the path. So I go, okay, God, if this is really you, okay, I'll go climb the mountain. So I started walking up the trail. And it's about the steepest incline they can make a path. I think it was like 22 degrees or something of incline, like about as high as they'll make like a walking path. And I'm walking up this thing, and I'm from the low country. I'm starting to get used to it, but I've only been here for like 3 weeks now. So I'm from below sea level. Like here in Texas, we're like a few thousand feet up. Like I'm from below sea level. So I'm huffing and puffing and I'm stopping. And little did I know, each one of these stops, each one of these times, everything all would lead up to a certain point. So I get up to the last overlook. It's called like the parking lot overlook, where it's the last overlook before the path becomes rocks, before you can get to the top of the mountain. And I had stopped there, and the timing, if I hadn't stopped at every single outlook, and if I hadn't gotten out of my car and got back in my car and gone up and stopped again, I never would have met this man. I didn't know this man, but a man's walking with a younger dude, and you can see them going like this from the parking lot overview, and the next turn they would come to where I am, and it's like a resting point, and they stopped and rested, and I was like, and I ended up talking to him a little bit, because I'm alone. Like, you got to think, like, it's like The Shining up there, because I'm alone in the mountains of North Carolina. I know nobody. I have nothing. Like, I don't know anything or anybody. So it's mainly just there by myself, and I would like go to like, gas stations or like the laundromat and just meet people and talk to them. The same kind of thing that I had developed in the gym all those years earlier. And that old man that's like always like wants to stop and talk to you. I was very grateful for that old man in that time. So because I had, and I'll stand on this with 2 feet, because I'd done what I was told, even though I didn't really know I was being told to do it, I just followed that little voice inside of my heart and inside of my head that I now know was my higher power. I met these 2 guys. And at first we didn't just start hanging out. I talked to them a little bit and we walk up the mountain. But as you walk up the mountain, you both kind of get tired at the same time. So I would stop and they would stop and talk to them a little bit more. And then I would go up the mountain some more and I would stop and they would stop. And eventually, long story short, we get up to the top of the mountain and I sit down on a rock by myself and I'm overlooking the mountain and seeing everything. I'm at the top of the mountain now. And they kind of go over here. They're like, oh, look, man, this guy's everywhere. He's got that rock. We'll go over here to this rock. And I sat there for a long time, and they got up eventually, and they go, hey, if you want to go down the mountain, it's that way. We're going to go to this other part. It's a technical hike. It's about 2 miles, but if you want, you can go with us. And I was like, okay. I had no idea what was happening, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I went with these guys, and we're talking, and we're hanging out, we're having a good time. And it's a very technical hike. We went down from 5,500 feet, dropped 400, raised another 400, and this is like a little bit more off trail. There's no trail, but it's like there's like markers in the woods that tell you where to go. And eventually I see this door on the path, and they go, now you go ahead. And I go ahead where? And they go, just walk that way. It was a door to a plane. I didn't know why in the heck a door to a plane would be up there on the side of a mountain. What? Right? No. They're sweet. But so I keep walking ahead of me, and this is the first time they've had me in front. I keep walking ahead, and lo and behold, the forest right there's a plane that crashed in 1982, and I had hiked with them, unbeknownst to me, to a plane crash on the side of the mountain. Most surreal thing, because everybody that hikes to the plane on Water Rock Knob, which has been since removed, everybody that hiked to that plane knew they were hiking to a plane crash, not myself. Like, so I just popped out, and it was just the best experience ever. So where that comes into meeting my wife is that from those people, I had now went, whoa, hiking's cool. Because we don't hike in South Carolina. Like, we have, like, trails, and we have the beach, and, like, we have this and that. We don't call it hiking. We call it going for a walk in the woods or whatever, you know? So I had started hiking. And the mountain, I got caught slipping on the mountain that day because I was wearing Adidas high tops, was not really optimal hiking gear, right? And so I, like, go to the Walmart or whatever and in the shoe store and get myself, like, hiking gear and stuff. And then I start hiking by myself. And from these travels, I had heard one person mention Nantahala, what at the time with my South Carolinian accent, I was like, Nantahala, what? Because we do our A's a little different. I heard one person mention it hiking. I heard this other guy that had mentioned in town, he talked about being a boater, which I didn't know that there was a difference between kayaking and kayaking. Like, the kayaking that I do now, the boat is, like, so tight around your body, it goes, when you sit down into the cockpit, and then you have, like, a skirt that goes over top of it to lock you in it. He was one of those guys. I didn't know. And he mentioned the Nantahala yet again. The third time I heard the Nantahala, I was on a motorcycle that I had purchased in the mountains because I was spending like $65 in gas every few days because I was getting so turbo lost in the mountains. I bought a motorcycle so I could, like, save gas. And I had my car keys on it, and my key to my Camaro had exploded, I guess, like, knocking against the tank. So I was, like, stuck in this field with no car key. And I was like, oh, snap. So the key guy came out, and the key guy was like, yeah, I have to do keys all the time in this place called the Nantahala, like rafting. And I was like, whitewater rafting is Nantahala. I've heard this thing 3 times, man. This is crazy. And I went out dancing by myself on a Saturday night, and it, like, there's, like, 2 bars in this entire mountain town, and neither one of them are clubs. Like, it's like, there's, like, pool tables on one side, and there's, like, a small little dance while I was dancing. And there was this girl that was there, and she was like, I'm a raft guide at Adventurous Fast Rivers on the Nantahala. And I was like, no way. So I went for a hike. I went to this waterfall the next morning, and I had got to it so fast, I was like, I still felt like I didn't feel satisfied. So I texted her, and I was like, where's that place called that you were talking about? Fast Rivers? She was like, yeah. So I go, she was like, here's the details. It was 45 minutes away. I'm still wearing my hiking boots. I'm wearing people clothes, like, I'm wearing hiking clothes. Like, I look like the crocodile hunter. Like, I was wearing, like, navy green, and, like, some hiking boots. And so I just get in my car and drive to the Nantahala. I go to Fast Rivers, and I pull up, and I'm like, hi. And they're like, hey. And I was like, can I go down the river? And little did I know, unbeknownst to me at the time, was they only go down the river twice a day. And I just so happened the exact time that I showed up, there was 15 minutes before the next trip would go out. Otherwise, I would have probably not done it. And they go, yeah, the next trip goes out in 15 minutes. Are you by yourself? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, I looked at the kayaks, and I was like, do you guys rent those out? And they're like, little did I know that would, if I would have somehow been able to get a hold of a kayak and all the gear, I would have died. Like, I literally would have died. Like, they call kayaking by yourself, they call that suicide. 2 people, you have a witness, and 3 people, you have a rescue party. And I would have gotten devoured by especially by the last obstacle, which is called the Little Wesser or the Nantahala Falls. It's the most photographed rapid on planet Earth. And so I went down the river in a ducky by myself. I asked them, can I go down barefoot? And they're like, what? Like, I have no idea what whitewater is. Like, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. And they're like, dude, no. Like, you got to rent booties. Like, because I was just, like, in there in my hiking gear, just like, and I went down the river. I didn't know any of the lines or anything like that. And they were like, yeah, you're just going to be self-guided. You just go down by yourself. I didn't know I'd be, like, facing several Class 3 rapids. And what happened was I was going down the river, and, you know, I'm just in the ducky, just playing by myself, having a good time. And somebody falls out of a raft. And I so didn't know what was going on at the time. I paddle up next to him. I'm like, do you want to swim or do you want me to help? And they were like, help me. And sorry if I blew out the mic, but they're like, help. And I was like, okay. And like, I like grabbed them and like rescued them and took them back to the raft. And they were like, thank you so much. Next, I see a paddle come out of somebody's boat, and I gave him the paddle, and I was like, first one's free. If somebody falls out, that'll be 15 river shekels. Like, just like goofing, like having a joke. Literally within like 2 minutes, somebody fell out of the raft, and I ended up rescuing that person. And then right at the end, this raft guide looks over at me, and he's like, "What's your line for the falls?" And I go, "The what?" And he goes, "The falls. What's your line for the falls?" I'm like, "What's a line and what's the falls?" And he's like, "What?" Because I had missed like the safety speech and everything. And he's like, "When you see it, you do this and you do that and you do that." And I, boop, 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 nailed it, just a natural at it. Um, and the guy who had told me the line dumps 2 people out of his raft. And I paddle up next to that person, save him, put him back in his raft. And there's a rock after you fall out at the falls. There's a rock called 3-second rock where you're in the water for 3 seconds. And then you will hit this rock with the force. It's crazy. Like, it hit me in the chest so hard one time when I fell out of my raft kayaking because I did the falls upside down. Pulled the ripcord and came out. I was like, "Isn't there a rock here in 3 seconds?" And I was like, underwater, because it holds you underwater for a second. And then it let me go, and I was like, "I guess I missed it." And then literally right in the chest, and I went, and I got hit by this rock so hard. And then like, ting, ting. That's another story. But like, people pulled up on me, "Can you walk?" But so anyways, kayaking's fun. But so I saved that person, and then at the end, I get picked up when we go to the shop, and they were like, "Dude, you saved da 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 da," and they were like, "Do you want a job and also to live here?" No, I didn't tell you at the beginning of the story. I had 8 days left on the Airbnb that I'd be in for a month. I had no plan. I had nowhere. But I was just like, "God, I'm gonna trust you," like consciously, not like, "Oh, like I'm gonna trust God." Like I was like praying about myself a lot, so I'm praying a lot. I'm like, "God, I'm gonna trust you." And then 8 days before my Airbnb runs out, they're like, "Do you want to work and live here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I would become a raft guide. Now that year, while I was a raft guide, a family came down and a girl had showed interest in me, which at work, I'm not that kind of guy who will like hit on people and stuff like that. So after she had left, one of the other raft guides was like, "Dude, that girl liked you." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, she kept like coming up to you and talking to you. Like I was her guide. She was just talking to you because she liked you." And I was like, "Well, never see her again because that's rafting. You're never going to see those people again." And they just so happened to come back 2 days later because they loved it. And I got her phone number and I hung out with her one time, which is also a funny story because she was there with like a family reunion, and I wanted to take her to go hiking, like so we could just like go and like go on a date by ourselves. And I like drove like 2 hours to go see her, and then she was like 15 minutes before I got there. She was like, "I get if you don't want to hang out, but like my family won't let me go hiking with you because they think that you're gonna kill me. So like like that is how you get made into soup." But 1 out of 5 people do become soup. But it's true. Probably. But so our first date I had to meet her entire extended family, and within like I literally had to get in my car and or come out of my park my car and just go and get out to like go meet this lady's entire family. It's our first date, and literally within 5 minutes, one of her cousins is like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Is it chill if I chill?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay." And I talked to her like dad and talked to her whole family and stuff, and then we like canoed around a lake. And I thought, "Dude, this sucks. Like, this is like my dream girl, and I'm never gonna see her again." And she was like, "Hey, like, I'm going back to Texas or whatever, but if you want, we can still like chat and stuff, and just see where this thing goes." And I'm like, "Okay." And like I noticed early on when I talked to her, I felt like I was at home, and I was like, "Man, this is crazy." And eventually, I got on an airplane and came out to Texas, visited for 2 weeks, went back, came back on an airplane for 3 weeks, and then the last time I flew her out there, and we packed everything up, and I moved out to Texas. But none of that would happen. I never would have went to Fast Rivers, never would have became a raft guide, never would have met my wife, never would have had my kid, never would have been in Texas, never would have been talking to you guys if I didn't listen to that voice that was outside of myself and sat there on my knees at every point on the mountain and met those guys to learn about hiking, to be sitting here in front of you guys today.
It's beautiful.
It's fun.
It's just crazy how life works like that. But you don't realize you're in that until you are like a few years out and you're like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And being a raft guide is fun too. And kayaking is fun. was all fun. Unfortunately, my two last jobs, like in a row, have both been considered more of a lifestyle than a living. So that sucks. But the experience has been really, really great. And, you know, I'm making different things now. And it's revealed a lot of things to me, with like how I like view life and like my career and like what, you know, the plan is like going forward. And, you know, how I'm really just like kind of at the mercy of something much, much bigger than myself. But there's like these little glimpses in my life where like when I am able to let go that and trust in something that's more powerful than myself, that although it's like quite the whirlwind, like if you want to know anxiety, have 8 days left on an Airbnb in a place you don't know and you're by yourself and you have nowhere to go. Like that, like being able to trust in a situation like that, like, or being like suicidal on a mountain by yourself, like it's not a good place to be, but like, in those times I felt secure. Like I felt okay because like although I didn't have a plan, I just knew like I was so beyond the point of like that human thing where you're like, I got this. Like I so was outside of my element, my realm. Like there was not even a snowball's chance. But like I was sober and I was like, you know, I'm sober and I'm not around people that are like not good for me. And like it was just such a you know, it doesn't really hold a candle to being like, you know, imprisoned in your mind.
So what do you think is next for you?
Next, I'm moving to South Carolina. I'm going on the East Coast. I'm going to listen to God and figure out where exactly I'm going to move to in South Carolina. I know I'm going to South Carolina. I have some plans for kayaking there. North Carolina, there's a lot more kayaking, but there's like a spot in Columbia, South Carolina, where I want to move. And you know, I've got, you know, my wife and I conceived a child on our honeymoon, which again is also movie. Like, we went to Colorado for our honeymoon, and I found there was a burrow in Denver. Yeah. So we said we were going to go to Denver for our honeymoon, and Denver, there's like a borough kind of like in like what I would consider Denver called Thornton, and we went there, and I always thought that I would have nothing but girls because I like my blood is a different temperature than most people. Like my blood stays out of the 98 range. So I like thought scientifically I would only have girls, and I'm always hot. Like not to be crass, but they call it like hot balls. Like so if you like experience that, then like most of the time you'll only have girls. That's why a lot of athletes will have like a lot of girls. And it was really, really cold, and we didn't have like a thermostat in ours because it was like a split level thing. And so it was really cold in there. And they say that that's better for having boys. So I'm having my first boy, and his name's going to be Wiley Barrett Thornton,
Wow.
which Barrett means strength and courage of a bear.
Wow. That's I told you earlier, I feel like you're a box of just fun facts, and I feel like you just gave us a fun fact.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I was just like, I always thought like I could only have girls. But
Yeah. Well, now you get a boy.
yeah, I'm very happy.
Oh, all right. We are going to get into some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So that means first thing that comes to mind. How much protein do you eat a day?
130 grams.
How much do you weigh?
188.
Okay. And most of that's meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you take pre-workout?
Yes.
Yes. What kind?
The Dot Fit brand. It's cheap.
Ew, you're one of those.
It's 20% off.
Yeah. Favorite lift or exercise?
Dips.
Tricep dips?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Least favorite lift or exercise?
I'm going to say RDL.
The burn, the hammy burn.
Oh, actually deadlift. It's deadlift for me. I have a flexion intolerance.
Yeah. What is your favorite muscle? So when you look in the mirror, which muscle are you like, okay, yeah, this is my favorite?
Chest.
Chest. Yeah. What is something you eat every single day? Silence.
Chicken.
Chicken? What is something you do intentionally every day?
I thank God for all the gifts that I've been given today and ask for help to be a better person.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Nobody has said that. Do you read or listen to audiobooks?
Yes.
What are you currently reading or listening to?
Congo by Michael Crichton.
What's that about?
Congo is like a research team has had a disaster in the Congo, and it was a very mysterious circumstance, and there's something that's crushing people's heads in the Congo, and like there's like diamonds that are used for industrial stuff that they're trying to like recover the diamonds and cover up what happened to this other research team, and they have a gorilla that speaks sign language with them.
So fiction?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if
I would
this
hope
is a true
so.
story.
No,
We
no,
got
no,
some
I'm just
problems.
Anything but Michael Crichton's good.
What? Do you listen to music when you work
Yes.
out? What kind of music?
I listen to metal dubstep mixed together because there's not like a lot of lyrics, and I can just like focus that, or like I'll listen to like yacht rock when I'm being silly, which is like interesting, and then I'll listen to some rap when I want to kind of bebop around and have fun.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
It was 4:30, but now it's been pretty consistently 5:30. Now I don't have a 5 o'clock client.
We're morning buddies. I love mornings.
Yeah, me too.
If you had your own gym, what is your number one must-have?
A 3 infringement dress code policy where if you violate, if you're egregious with your outfit 3 times in a row, then you have to wear a punishment outfit for a month.
Wow. That's, I
Yeah.
haven't
So,
heard that one.
yeah. So like if like fellas are like doing the most, or like, you know, like if you're like a girl and like you have like full cheeks out or something, like it really just depends like on like what it is. But if it's like egregious, like 3 times in a row, then you have to wear like sweats for a month or something.
That's not much of a punishment.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm just saying, like just like let's bring the culture back
Yeah.
back a taste.
Yeah.
Just just back a taste.
Just a hair.
Just a taste.
If you could give anybody honorable mention, who would you give honorable mention to and why?
Shout out my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I would like to give an honorable mention to Fast Rivers in the Nantahala Gorge. And I would like to shout out my kids, Phoebe, Remy Milo, and Wiley, and my lovely wife, Esther Thornton.
So good. All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to touch on?
I just want to look at everybody and say that when you find something that you love, hold on to it. And that's really it. That when you find something you love, you have to hold on to it. I don't care if it's collecting Hess trucks, if it's the gym, if it's, a woman. When you find something you love, hold on to it, and don't ever be afraid to express your feelings about that. And a lot of people will let go of things that they love for reasons that won't matter in the grand scheme of things. And a little bit of love is hard to come by.
So good. Over here, I'm like, I don't want to cry.
I'm trying
I don't
not to
wanna
cry. I'm trying really hard.
I'm sure I could find some tissues if we end up crying. First off, do you have a sticker?
I left your sticker at the house, but I do have your
Okay,
sticker.
that's okay. I just wanted to make sure.
No, yeah, I wanted to give it to you on camera, but I'll have to give it to you another time
That's okay.
and do a call back.
You know where to find me.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys. Thanks for listening to Dave's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you download, like, and subscribe. And you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Anyway, Have a good day, friends. Bye.